British Prime Minister Boris Johnson told lawmakers on January 25 after talks with US President Biden. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron that some European countries were worried about a serious economic blockade on Russia because of its heavy dependence on Russian gas. The Guardian recalls that Johnson was referring to Germany. He added that their job now is to take the concerned states as far as possible, in order to impose a strong economic blockade on Russia. Johnson said talks between allies on whether Russia could be excluded from the International Interbank Money Transfer System, SWIFT, were not possible without US consent. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has already expressed skepticism. Johnson said economic sanctions would be imposed on key Russian figures and companies. At the same time, he said, Britain could increase its military presence in Eastern Europe if Russia invaded Ukraine. A Newsweek report states that Germany does not want to provide military assistance to Ukraine. They said it would not help Ukraine. Berlin wants to provide medical assistance to Ukraine instead. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba said in a Twitter message that Germany's position was against unity and that Putin would be interested in launching a new attack on Ukraine. But Blinken told NBC that after speaking with the German Chancellor and Foreign Minister, he was convinced that Germany agreed with the United States' concerns and that they agreed to take swift and effective action. But Friedman says Europe does not agree with Russia. The Europeans have been at war for hundreds of years. That rival still exists. Germany wants to take advantage of Russia's economic backwardness. Poland, on the other hand, thinks that they saw in 1939 how Germany and Russia divided Poland. France once again wonders if this opportunity can be used to bring Europe under its influence by removing Germany. Russia wants to take advantage of the conflict between Europe and NATO countries. But at the moment, on the other side of the world, all eyes are on Russia as China is busy with its own internal issues. There is an importance of China's position on the Ukraine issue. Chris Miller, director of the Foreign Policy Research Institute, a U.S. think tank, said in an article that the United States has been at loggerheads with China over the imposition of economic sanctions on North Korea and Iran. In many cases, China has been forced to comply with U.S. sanctions, which highlights China's weakness. The West's blockade of Russia over the Crimea issue in 2014 was not too harsh. The blockade had little effect on Sino-Russian trade relations. But this time it is sure to be an exception. If China accepts the US blockade this time, then China's economic power will look weak enough in the eyes of all, and the financial strength of the United States will increase. Russia also has a much larger economy than Iran and North Korea. So while the damage to severing economic ties with those two countries is minimal, it will not be in the case of Russia. The blockade on Russia will undoubtedly hurt the Chinese economy. That's why China may not agree to cut ties with Russia this time under pressure from the United States. If China could make that decision, Russia would have a much bigger ally in the midst of its disaster, and the West has to fight a financial war on two fronts together.